everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly podcast series called Encouragement for Your Life. Hey, you know I'm a national speaker and trainer and a coach, and I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also a conference speaker on the topic of public speaking, presentation skills, how to deal with the media, and of course, crisis communication, because it's not if, but when, and friends, you need to be protected. If your organization is having an upcoming conference and you are looking for a keynote speaker, I hope you'll find me at debsofield.com. I've got a number of books on the market that I would love for you to pick up. You can just go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, and all my books will appear. I've got a great theme today, and it's this: a friend, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. It's never easy to step away, but there comes a time when you know that you should. Now, the key is, do you listen to that little voice and heed that tug on your heart that the organization might be better off without you at the helm? I don't know. Stay with me. Let's talk about it today. I'm Deb Sofield. Thanks for spending these next few minutes with me. Let's get started with today's show. A while back, I stepped down from a leadership position that I really enjoyed. I kind of like to be called the boss lady. But in reality, I just do too much. So in order to take control of my world, I had to make some changes to protect the time I have to do the things that I'm really interested in doing, and in some cases, actually required to do. Listen, it's never easy to step away from a project you birthed or created or frankly just love. But the fact is that in order to leave a legacy of success, there comes a time when we should all step away and encourage, allow, or cajole others into a leadership position to teach them or to grow them into becoming the person they were meant to be. Now, that growth will not happen if you keep hanging on when you really should have stepped away. If you're a person who's in tune with what I call the flow of life, you will instinctively know when the time comes to move on. And hopefully, you'll be wise enough to listen to the still small voice that tells you to move on because the organization, the company, the program would be better off without you at the helm. Oh, hard, I know, but necessary for you to live your best life ever and to be a mentor and leader for the next generation. I like to challenge myself to see how well I'll do in building, creating, or constructing whatever it is that's on my plate. Then, once a challenge is over, I tend to move on to other opportunities. My friends will tell you that I get bored easily. I'm always looking for something else to challenge me, which, as I've come to believe, is not always a bad thing. When my friends and clients tell me that they are so busy, so tired, or so over the job they have, I like to ask the question of what it would take to get them back on track. Not why they feel overwhelmed, but what would it take to move in the right direction? So tossing around the idea of why and what, I came across a book by Tasha Eurich, and it's called Insight. And she points out, why questions draw us to our limitations? What questions help us see our potential? Why questions stir up negative emotions? What questions keep us curious? Why questions trap us in our past? What questions help us create a better future? Indeed, making the transition from why to what can be the difference between victimhood and growth. I like that quote. You know, one thing I find interesting is just how full to the brim people fill their lives with things that they are not required or expected to do. Now, listen, I am all for giving back and doing your part when you're able, but still hanging on to organizations that have long past lost your heart and soul's interest, friends, that just doesn't make much sense. Especially when so many other things are available if you'll just pull back and take a fresh look at the options before you. I have to ask, are you filling your time to keep busy so you don't have to do the things you should be doing? Like hustling for new business or doing your taxes or simple things like polishing your shoes, cleaning out your car, your attic, your garage, your tool shed. And the answer is probably yes. Okay, the answer is yes. And that's what makes me ask, Why? Why we hold on to things that at one time were of great value, but now, in reality, we're just filling a seat. I'll tell you what I've come to understand. I think it's because we're afraid of being forgotten. There, I said it. And it hurts to actually speak the word forgotten. But I've been around long enough to know it when I see it. A friend gave me this advice years ago, and I've never forgotten it. In fact, I use it quite often, and it's this: go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Let me say it again. Our friend, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Perceived obligations for so many of us hold us long past the due date. And just like the milk label says, best if used by a certain date. Friend, if that date is over, you need to consider leaving. Now, before you change the channel or go to another station, let me give you a few reasons why. 1, you've done your part. You've set a direction, cleaned up the mess, steadied the ship to sail to new harbors. Really, there's nothing left for you to do, so go, go, go. 2, others need your seat at the table so they can learn and contribute. Listen, that's not going to happen if you're still sitting there. And if you make them pry your cold, clammy hands off the table and take you out to bury you, all they're going to do is shake their head and say, too bad they didn't go any sooner. And number 3, the truth is every organization needs new blood and new ideas from new people. So come on, pack up your stuff. Let's go. Hey, trust me on this. No matter how much they, quote, tell you they want you to stay, it's a ruse to make you feel better or to make kicking you out the door not hurt quite so much. Listen, most organizations hope you will be aware enough to know when it's time to go. They just don't want to hurt your feelings, lose your financial support, or look like they tossed out the old gal or guy. I know stepping down is never easy. Pride gets in the way, and the thought of being dispensable hurts. It hurts the pride. It hurts your self-esteem. Actually, it kind of hurts your heart since it was something you once loved and maybe still do. But it's necessary sometime for you to move on and in a new direction. See, friend, I hope in life you understand the value of go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. And stop worrying about being forgotten. Now, I'm not saying that tomorrow you withdraw all your memberships in every charitable or service organization. What I'm asking is that you consider stepping away from a few of the organizations you spend a boatload amount of time with. Listen, nothing makes the heart grow fonder than when you reappear in a year or 2 or 3, if you still have an interest. And then you can see the results of your years of hard work that built an organization to its success. All right, listen, I am self-aware to know that my words are going to fall on deaf ears. Oh, because some of you listening today can't imagine a world without you at the table. Hey, listen, while I love your self-esteem, just consider it might be a little misguided, my friend. It's always hard to know when to step away, but let me give you a few ideas to help you figure out when you should do so. Many of you know I work in the political realm, and there's nothing worse than a politician who keeps the job but doesn't listen to their constituents or take their concerns to heart. Hey, if that's the case for you, buddy, it's not rocket science. It's time to go. I see in business many good men and women who want to keep the job they have achieved because it makes them feel important. But the truth is, literally, if we get down to the brass tacks, the truth is they no longer contribute. Everyone knows it because the world around them has changed. And their death grip on, quote, their space will be pulled apart when they least expect it. And you know what? That is so sad for everyone to watch. You know, the one I don't get is this one, is when a coach is no longer interested in learning new ideas, and they keep reciting the same old facts and figures that have been debunked years ago. Hey, but they're too lazy to change or too tired to learn. If that's the case in your situation, for the good of your clients, people, it's time to go. Nothing is so sad as to see people who think they're hanging on to power that was lost long, long ago. All right, I will never forget a situation I saw unfold on a national scale where a lady built a recognized political organization. But as she got older, it began to decline. She refused to understand the needs of the audience and keep up with the times. In politics, things move quickly. And then she had a stroke. And in her altered state, she guilted her board in allowing her to stay till the end. Let me change that. Till the bitter end. And now it's the end. And the organization is in shambles. And those who finally moved her out were not even able to pick up enough of the pieces to rebuild what was once a nationally recognized and respected organization. All because one lady refused to let go of her perceived power. The organization she built, frankly, she killed. And from where I stand, and from every woman who attended conferences year after year across the nation, it was a very sad state of affairs. I could go on and on about many once great organizations that are now closed or so damaged beyond repair because one person wouldn't let go. Because the truth of go where you're celebrated, not tolerated, did not win out. And the flame died and people left, and all that was good is now gone. And not only is it gone, it's now just talked about as a once memory. How about you? Are you hanging on for one last gasp in the hopes of being remembered or thought of kindly? If you overstay your welcome, trust me, that is the last thing people will remember about you. All right, so I'm going to move this to your personal life. I only ask these questions to make you think. Do your friends celebrate you or tolerate you because you have money, prestige, or perceived power? Does the person you're dating or even married to celebrate you or tolerate you because they don't want to be alone? Do your work colleagues celebrate you or tolerate you because they have no choice until you're fired or removed? And then they'll have a party. Listen, I know it's hard to think about and reconcile, but you know in your head and heart the answers to these questions. So now the question really is, what will you do about it? You know that I'm becoming famous or infamous for saying, move on and move out and find those who care for you. Find someone who will love you and be your cheerleader and number one fan. Or friend, be strong enough to live your life to its fullest, even if that means doing it alone. You know my line, it is better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel alone. Listen, if you keep doing the same things and expect different results, that's not going to happen, no matter how hard you hope and wish and pray. So a while back, I looked up the word tolerate, and here's the definition. Endure something, to withstand the unpleasant effects of something. Ouch. Now, let's compare that to celebrate, which means show happiness at something. To show happiness that something good or special has happened by doing such things as eating and drinking or playing music. I'm all about celebrating. And friends, all I'm asking today, that you take some time to figure out who celebrates you. Now think about it right now. Tell me in your mind or say it out loud. Who celebrates you? Who shows happiness that you are amazing you? Because it's important that you, dear listener, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated for a lifetime. I know, tough love message, but somebody has to say this stuff. I've got story after story of amazing organizations that really are, well, a couple of them are completely out of business because nobody would be willing to give up. And then I've got some psycho story of a woman who put someone in after her who she knew would fail because she wanted to be able to say, well, when I was there. Well, I tell you, that's a whole level of crazy I don't have time to talk about. But believe it or not, you're listening to Encouragement for Your Life. I'm Deb Sofield. Let's get through a break and let me come back with some ways that, friend, you can be celebrated in your rock star amazing life. Stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break. Hi friends, Deb Sofield here. I'm a national speaker and an executive speech and presentations coach. I've been in the battlefield of politics and business for over 30 years. I know and understand how the game works. In today's marketplace, you don't have a choice. We're in the media age of Twitter, blogs, Facebook, and 24-hour news cycles. Either you move quickly and decisively to define your product, your company, or yourself, or others will define you. You can't afford to miss the mark, because the public won't give you a second chance and the media is unforgiving, and YouTube will replay your remarks until you've been ground into dust. Whether it's crafting your message to protect you or your company, or putting you on camera to answer the questions that will resonate with reporters and the public, or preparing you for an interview, let me help you be successful. I'm Deb Sofield. Find me online at debsofield.com. That's debsofield.com. Welcome back, everybody. So my theme today is go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. And I have to say, I was doing some research, and in my discovery, I found that people, and especially those who are in leadership positions, probably one of the greatest things they fear is being forgotten. As I was online, I actually came across the definition of the fear of being forgotten. And here it is. Actually, it's a word. It's a phobia. And I want to share it with you just so you can add it to your knowledge bank. Okay, here it is. It's going to take me 2 times to get it right, but here we go. Athazagoraphobia. Understanding the fear of being forgotten. Athazagoraphobia. Hey, now you've learned a new word. Don't ask me how to spell it. It's about, 15 letters, but it is certainly a fascinating rabbit trail. Okay, back to my message today. As I was looking through my files, I have an older article from Inc. magazine, but I really like the idea that it's shared, and so I'd like to share it with you. And it's called Great Leaders Know When to Step Down, a lesson from the Pope. I know, but it was an interesting article, so here we go. One of the many challenges a leader faces is knowing when it's time to move on. Generally, this is not a problem for failed leaders or leaders who aren't held in high esteem. They tend to get pushed out, or at least they get hints that it is time to go. However, it's a problem for leaders who are successful, loved, and esteemed. Respected and admired leaders, even as they age and have possible decreased capacity, are rarely encouraged to leave. With no one suggesting that it's time to go, this type of leader has to rely on his or her own judgment to decide if time to wind down. In academia, many still live in the world of tenure, and they are guaranteed their position for many years. I marvel not at those professors who hang on, but at those academics who appreciate the need to move on, to search for something new, to make room for younger professors, or because of an awareness of their own decreased capacity, they simply make the wiser choice. Now, while I have no data, it seems to me that those who move on the quickest are those who have achieved the most. They're the ones who hold themselves to the highest standard and hold themselves accountable. The news of Pope Benedict XVI resigning his office holds a message for a lot of leaders, especially those pragmatic leaders who realize that leadership is defined by action and a capacity to get things done. The lesson is simple. As a leader, your responsibility to your organization and to your cause and to your vision is realistic self-monitoring. You may have been great in your time, and you still may be great, but whether you fit the moment is the question you should ask. Is the environment that your organization is operating now the one that you're most comfortable in? So you should probably ask yourself these few questions. Probably number 1, is my knowledge base static? If you find yourself more and more out of sync with changing technologies, changing markets, changing ideas and concepts, then you may have to seriously consider making room for the younger generation who can keep up. Another question is my network expanding? Leadership is based on your ability to network, to make new connections, and find new linkages. If you find yourself dealing with the same people all the time, then maybe it's time to reconsider your position. Another question is, does the work demand more of you? Now, this is neither a physical nor intellectual question. I think it's more of an emotional question. I mean, emotionally, are you less engaged with daily activities necessary to sustain forward movement? Do you think others around you can do a better job? That's always a tough question, I know. Can others do a better job? Leaders always recognize talent and exceptional people. Few leaders in their prime feel replaceable. But if you're struck that others around you can do a better job than you, then maybe you should let them. The primary reason that leaders can learn from truly great people is honest self-reflection. Leaders need to make an honest examination of what they can and are willing to do. Few CEOs, few entrepreneurs, few leaders are more committed to their vision than we can imagine that of the Pope. If he can recognize that challenges that face the church and have an awareness that he should make room for others, shouldn't leaders at least reflect on his example? It's not to say that everyone needs to copy his behavior, but certainly everyone should have the responsibility to reflect on whether the time has come to move on. I really liked that article. I thought it made a lot of good points. I got to tell you, I love quotes, and I came across the quote from Oscar Wilde. He said this: "Some cause happiness wherever they go, others whenever they go." All right, that might be my favorite one ever. And then there's another one I like. It said, "Every positive change in your life begins with a clear, unequivocal decision that you are either going to do something or stop doing something." I've always thought one of the hardest and yet strongest positions of leadership somebody could show to the outside world is their confidence. And by having confidence, that's how you lead great organizations. They follow people who have confidence. But confident people do things differently. They don't hang on till the very last day. They make room for others because they know they've done a good job. Travis Bradberry has an article called 12 Things Confident People Do Differently. I probably can't get through all 12, but let me go ahead and start in our time together. I'm going to agree with Mr. Bradberry that confidence takes many forms, from the arrogance of some athletes to the quiet self-assurance of leaders we love and respect. True confidence, as opposed to false confidence, when people project to mask their insecurities, well, it has a look all of its own. When it comes to confidence, one thing is certain. Truly confident people always have the upper hand over the doubtful and the skittish because they inspire others to make things happen. I think Henry Ford said it best: whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. Ford's notion that your mentality has a powerful effect on your ability to succeed is manifest in the results of a recent study from the University of Melbourne, where confident people went on to earn higher wages and get promoted more quickly than others. Learning to be confident, not arrogant, but confident, so you will be celebrated, not tolerated, is what will set you apart from others. And so they go through about 12 habits that truly confident people have that you and I could incorporate into our lives. Number one, they get their happiness from within. Happiness is a critical element of confidence because in order to be confident in what you do, our friends, you got to be happy with who you are. People who brim with confidence derive their sense of pleasure and satisfaction from their own accomplishments as opposed to what others think of their accomplishments. They know that no matter what anyone says, you're never as good or as bad as people say you are. I love the next one. They don't pass judgment. Confident people, people who are celebrated, not tolerated, don't pass judgment on others because they know that everyone has something to offer and they don't need to take other people down a notch in order to feel good about themselves. Comparing yourself to other people is limiting, my friends. Confident people don't waste time doing that. They take people where they are and help them build. His next point is this: they listen more than what they speak. Confident people listen more than what they speak. They don't feel like they have anything to prove. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and someone said, hey, listen, you don't have to have an opinion about everything. Sometimes being quiet might be the best. I like the other points. They speak with certainty. They don't beat around the bush. They make their words matter, because they matter and they care about people and they show it by the words they use. Believe it or not, confident people don't really have to seek attention. Why? Because being yourself is more effective than trying to prove you're important. Confident people show up with the right attitude. They're also not afraid of being wrong. Hey, listen, we all make mistakes. That's just life. But don't beat yourself up. Don't wear yourself down. You made a mistake, pick yourself up, and let's move on. I thought probably these last points are my favorite. They celebrate other people. If you go where you're celebrated, not tolerated, you will be known as the person who celebrates others. And isn't that what you want in your life? To be recognized and seen as somebody who truly cares. Because, friend, I believe you do. Sometimes we just have to dust off the cobwebs to show who we really are. I really like that article from Travis Bradberry, and I hope you did too. Hey friends, I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm Deb Sofield. You've been listening to Encouragement for Your Life. I hope you'll join me next week, same time, same place, right here on this station. Have a good one, everybody.